Malik Thompson parked his beat-up Honda Civic under the flickering street lamp of the Westbrook Community Center, its overdue maintenance sticker peeling like a stubborn badge of neglect. It was a sweltering Tuesday evening in late July, and the humidity hung in the air like thick molasses. He wiped the sweat from his brow, glanced at the digital clock on his dashboard. It read 8:02 p.m., and hurried inside, heart pounding with the usual mix of hope and dread. Inside, the ratty folding chairs were already filled with neighbors, elders with concern-etched faces, single mothers clutching school backpacks, teenagers fanning themselves with photocopied voter registration forms. Malik took the front row, thumbed his notepad, and listened as the county registrar droned on about absentee ballot deadlines and ID requirements that sounded more like traps than tools. Hands shot up with questions he couldn't answer. Where's my polling site? Do I need a new ID? Why do some machines break so often? The registrar offered polite consultation hours during working days, useless for those juggling multiple jobs. When the floor opened for suggestions, Malik rose, tapping his pen on the table. What if we could register and get reminders right on our phones? He asked. A hush fell. 20 years of civic apathy and broken promises flickered through the room. Then Mrs. Jenkins, age 76, said quietly, "That would change everything." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. That night, Malik drove home under a canopy of buzzing cicadas, the city's streetlights blurring past his windshield. In his small bedroom, walls lined with code-stained printouts, he powered up his aging laptop and sketched a rough wireframe on a scrap of printer paper. A home screen showing register, locate poll, and remind me buttons, a map view with color-coded precincts, a notification toggle for election day alerts. Over the next 48 hours, Malik transformed that paper sketch into a working prototype. He wrote Python functions to pull official voter roll data from the state's open API, formatted it into a secure SQLite database, and built a React Native front end for seamless cross-platform access. His living room overflowed with empty coffee cups and takeout containers as he tweaked color schemes for readability, implemented AES encryption for user privacy, and configured push notifications through Firebase. By the end of the weekend, Vote Ready, as he'd named it, was alive on his phone. He tested it on himself. Registration submitted in under 30 seconds. Polling place pin correctly dropped 2 blocks from his apartment. An alert ping scheduled for 6 a.m. on Election Day. Heart racing, Malik uploaded the APK to a private beta channel and texted a link to 10 trusted neighbors. Within hours, their feedback rolled in. Smooth, game changer. Please share it with the church group. The seed of hope he'd planted in the community center had sprouted in silicon and code. Malik leaned back in his chair, blinking at the glow of his screen, and allowed himself a rare smile. For the first time, technology felt like an instrument of democracy, not exclusion, and Westbrook's voice might finally be heard. Sprout ChatGPT. By mid-August, the buzz around Vote Ready had spread through Westbrook like electric wildfire. On a humid Saturday morning, Malik unlocked the doors of Martin Luther King Jr. Library's conference room and flipped on a battered projector. A dozen seniors drifted in, curiosity etched on their weathered faces. He welcomed them with a warm smile and began a hands-on workshop. Let's get you registered right now, on your phone or ours. Mrs. Jenkins, whom everyone called Miss Mary, raised a trembling hand. At 78, she'd never owned a smartphone, but Malik guided her finger to the register button. As she tapped submit, her gnarled fingers danced across the screen, and she erupted in delighted laughter. I did it! It's really done! Others followed. A retired nurse who'd thought voting too complicated, a World War II veteran astonished that elections could come to him in an app. Next, Malik set up shop at Cornerstone Baptist Church. Beneath a stained glass window depicting hands joined in prayer, he equated Vote Ready's precinct map feature to knowing which pew to sit in on Sunday. Pastor Lewis boomed from the pulpit. This app will carry our voices to the ballot box. After service, congregants clustered around Malik's laptop. Teenagers teaching grandparents how to swipe. Mothers checking childcare-friendly drop-off sites near polling places. That afternoon, Malik dropped by Tony's barbershop. where walls were plastered with family photos and local bulletins. Tony, his barber, paused mid-fade and grabbed a flyer. One-tap reminders? Finally, something for us. He posted vote-ready cards by the Clippers. Every haircut ended with Malik giving customers a quick tutorial on the Guide My Way navigation button and the Line Live feed that reported wait times. Word even reached Westbrook High School's AV club. Coach Ramirez approved a vote-ready phone bank in the media lab. Student volunteers called every voter who'd registered through the app, confirming polling locations and offering rides. Within days, social media posts tagged Vote Ready as the reason their turnout jumped from 28% to 42% in just one precinct. At a block party cookout that evening, grills crackled with jerk chicken and corn on the cob, and Vote Ready's live check-in billboard glowed on a rented LED trailer. Malik stood beside the real-time map, green pins popping up every time a neighbor cast their ballot, and felt a swell of pride as Miss Mary pointed out her own pin. "Look, Malik, there I am," she said, beaming. In that charged moment, technology and trust converged. Vote Ready was no longer just an app in beta, but the pulse of a community finally mobilized. And Malik knew that together, they were stronger than any obstacle the powers that be could throw their way. 2 days before Election Day, Malik awoke to an onslaught of urgent notifications. His phone buzzed with automated alerts: Vote Ready service interruption, unable to validate user credentials, and worst of all, Precinct 14 relocated to Central High School, a polling site 15 miles from Westbrook's center. He raced to his home office, flicked on the dual monitors, and opened the real-time dashboard. Red spikes of failed login attempts jutted sky-high, while live map tiles lay blank over entire precincts. Malik's heart pounded as he dug into the server logs. Under normal load, 1,200 active users, authentication requests, numbered in the low hundreds per hour. Now, the logs showed tens of thousands of repeated 401 unauthorized errors, all originating from a handful of whitelisted IP ranges belonging to the county election board. As if that weren't alarming enough, the SMS gateway he'd integrated for vote reminders was throttling his sender ID. Messages to Westbrook area codes queued up in multi-hour delays, while surrounding districts received theirs instantly. Panicked users flooded the Vote Ready helpline with reports. "My confirmation code never came. My polling place changed at the last second. The line-length feed isn't loading." Malik's stone-cold dread grew as he realized these were not random outages, but a coordinated assault. He spent hours tracing HTTP headers, only to discover that a malicious JavaScript payload had been injected into his map rendering code. Whenever a Westbrook user loaded the precinct map, the app silently redirected them to an imposter site asking for a security update that downloaded a tracking cookie and erased their session token. By midday, the damage was catastrophic. Voter check-ins dropped by 70%. The community he'd mobilized began to distrust the app he'd built. Malik huddled with Tasha and Luis in the library's back booth, their laptops open to code diff tools and network sniffer logs. Together, they confirmed a damning truth. White election officials had weaponized their whitelisting privileges to flood Malik's servers with fake traffic, strip away two-factor authentication for targeted accounts, and suppress Vote Ready's core functionality, effectively silencing Westbrook's vote. As the evening closed in, Malik stared at the blinking error messages, anger and betrayal twisting in his gut. The very officials sworn to safeguard democracy had betrayed their oath, colluding to disenfranchise the community he loved. He clenched his fists over the keyboard and vowed, this attack would not stand. With the fate of thousands of ballots hanging in the balance, Malik prepared to wage a digital counteroffensive, no matter the cost. On Election Day's early gray light, Malik Thompson's phone erupted with frantic pings before dawn. He blinked at the screen. Hundreds of login failed alerts, followed by dozens of precinct-changed warnings for Westbrook neighborhoods, none of which he'd authorized. Heart hammering, he threw on his jacket, grabbed his laptop and chargers, and raced to the community center, where he maintained his makeshift command center. Inside the wood-paneled back room, volunteers slept on folding chairs under the glow of a lone desk lamp. Malik roused them, voice taut. "We're under attack! Now!" He booted the server console and stared in disbelief as the traffic graphs spiked into vertical red columns. A flood of requests, far beyond any normal peak, streamed from IPs registered to the county election board. Yet instead of legitimate queries, each was a spoofed login attempt, designed to lock out real users. He pivoted to the error logs. Every time a Westbrook voter attempted to check in, the app's JavaScript was quietly redirecting their polling place API calls to a lookalike web page hosted on a domain nearly identical to VoteReady's. That fake site prompted users to download the election security update, which in reality installed a small tracking script that stole their credentials and wiped their session tokens. Malik's stomach knotted. Thousands of voters thought they were confirming their status, but were instead locked out entirely. As the morning sun crept through the narrow window, he noticed another cruel twist. The two-factor SMS gateway he'd integrated was refusing to send codes to Westbrook area codes. By tracing the carrier logs, he discovered that a local telecom executive, white and politically connected, had throttled his app's SMS traffic, ensuring only half the messages went through. Meanwhile, surrounding suburbs received their reminders instantly. Panic rippled through the room. Tasha, the high school coder, pounded on her laptop. "They've revoked our admin privileges. I can't push a server update." Malik's jaw clenched. White election officials, using their whitelisted admin accounts, had surreptitiously stripped Malik's own team of management rights, blocking every attempt to patch the code or redirect traffic. He gathered his volunteers around a battered conference table. They're weaponizing every advantage: IP whitelists, SMS throttling, stolen credentials. They want Westbrook's vote to disappear. One elder rose, voice trembling but resolute. "Then we won't disappear. We'll outsmart them." Malik quickly sketched a crisis plan. Clone VoteReady onto an off-grid cloud cluster beyond the county's network, rotate through multiple API gateways to avoid blocked IPs, and reroute SMS through open-source VoIP services. Simultaneously, they would activate a paper backup system, printed precinct maps, and time-stamped phone tree alerts to every registered voter, manually confirming polling locations and line conditions. As polls opened, the Westbrook streets throbbed with long lines and anxious faces. Malik's team hustled flyers and door knocks, guiding voters around the saboteurs' digital roadblocks. In one precinct, lines dwindled to zero as the app's map tiles refused to load, but a local church van, dispatched by VoteReady volunteers, arrived to ferry seniors to their correct sites. Throughout the day, Malik monitored multiple dashboards: cloud cluster health, SMS queue lengths, and phone bank call logs. Each successful manual intervention, a call that redirected a confused voter, a flyer that corrected a false precinct change, felt like a small victory in a much larger battle. By dusk, despite the onslaught, Westbrook's turnout had climbed from a projected 40% to 57%, a remarkable recovery under fire. But Malik knew the fight was far from over. Every fraudulent alert, every blocked notification, represented a family denied its voice. As he packed up his battered laptop and watched the last voters file home, he vowed, if election officials believed they could silence Westbrook, they had only awakened its fiercest defenders. In the gray light of the day after the election, Malik Thompson sat at his kitchen table, surrounded by printed server logs, packet capture files, and a growing mountain of screenshot evidence. Each document told a damning story. Time-stamped API calls from county board IPs injecting malicious JavaScript. SMS logs showing selective throttling for 555 Westbrook area codes. Audit trails proving white election board laptops revoking VoteReady admin privileges at 3 a.m. The scale of the collusion, brackets of code engineered to crash his platform and reroute voters, left him both outraged and determined. Malik knew that, left unchallenged, these digital fingerprints would disappear under legal denials. He reached out to the ACLU's Voting Rights Project and the Nonpartisan Election Protection Coalition, briefing them on the technical findings. Their experts corroborated his logs, confirming the hack was deliberate, targeted, and orchestrated by election official insiders. Together, they drafted a 60-page complaint, complete with annotated logs and forensic analyses, naming the specific officials and telecom actors who'd colluded to suppress Westbrook's black vote. Next, Malik contacted the Washington Post's investigative team. At a clandestine meeting in a downtown coffee shop, he laid out a thumb drive brimming with evidence. Raw packet captures showing the JavaScript payload, reverse-engineered SMS delivery reports, and troves of Excel exports mapping malicious precinct change alerts. Veteran reporter Karen Liu listened intently, her eyes widening as she scrolled through the incriminating data. "This is the biggest election interference story since 2000, she whispered, already drafting her lead. Within 48 hours, the Post ran its expose. Hack the ballot, election officials, target Westbrook's voting rights app. Front page, above the fold. The article named the 5 board clerks whose IP addresses had executed the attack, detailed how a politically connected telecom executive throttled SMS traffic, and quoted Westbrook voters who nearly abandoned the polls in confusion. Nationwide, outrage boiled over. Civil rights groups called for federal indictments, tech blogs praised Malik's forensic work, and state legislators demanded emergency hearings. Faced with public fury, the county board convened a special session. Under the glare of TV cameras, the indicted officials squirmed as Malik testified, screen sharing his logs in real time. Ajax calls redirected to malicious domains, CLI traces proving the SMS hijack, and evidence of admin tokens revoked to block his own fixes. The chairwoman stammered through denials, but under cross-examination, one implicated clerk admitted, "We thought we were protecting order, but we were wrong." By week's end, a state prosecutor announced a criminal investigation for conspiracy, computer fraud, and civil rights violations. Malik watched the headlines. Developer's app saves Westbrook, then uncovers white-collar election scam, and felt a surge of vindication. His community's vote had not only been defended at the polls, but the architects of its suppression had been unmasked. In truth, the hack that nearly silenced Westbrook had instead amplified its voice, loud enough to reverberate through every newsroom and courtroom in the state. By 6 a.m. on Election Day, Westbrook's streets hummed with anxious energy, but VoteReady's dashboard lay dark, its maps blank and its check-in buttons unresponsive. Malik Thompson slammed open the doors of the community center, where a skeleton crew of volunteers stared at frozen screens. "They've taken everything offline," he said, voice raw. "Now we fight back." He drew a quick diagram on the whiteboard. Step 1, spin up an off-grid mirror of VoteReady on out-of-state cloud servers. Step 2, reroute API traffic through encrypted Tor bridges. Step 3, swap SMS gateways to open-source VoIP providers. Step 4, activate a manual phone tree deliver system. And Step 5, dispatch voter rescue stations to critical precincts. Time was measured in heartbeats. Within minutes, Malik and Luis Hernandez, VoteReady's volunteer sysadmin, had provisioned new virtual machines in a neutral cloud region. They patched the code to ignore the county board IP ranges and pointed the mobile clients to the new endpoint. Tasha and a team of coding club members deployed the Tor bridge configuration to the app's HTTP client, ensuring malicious injections could no longer redirect precinct data. Meanwhile, Malik called in favors from the tech community. A white hat hacker provided a fresh SSL certificate to prevent spoofing, and a retired telecom engineer donated access to a global VoIP trunk, restoring two-factor SMS codes for every Westbrook area code. As confirmation pings returned green, Malik allowed himself a flicker of hope. Outside, Pastor Lewis's church van stood ready. Volunteers loaded printed precinct maps, hand-drawn from VoteReady's original geodata, and clipboards of paper roll call sheets. They fanned out to key intersections, offering rides to polling sites and guiding confused voters from broken machines toward functioning scanners. High school students in VoteReady t-shirts formed a walking phone bank, calling every registrant with live updates. "Your precinct is 2 blocks east. Line length is 15 minutes at Westbrook Middle. Don't take the fake text. Use the number we provided. By midday, the impact was undeniable. The county had predicted a 40% turnout in Westbrook. Instead, the manually guided voters pushed it to 63%. Lines that threatened to snarl for hours flowed smoothly as rescue stations cleared backlog. Malik stood beneath a church awning, phone in hand, watching the new cloud dashboard light up with check-ins, green pins flowering across the map, row by row. As the final polls closed, Malik exhaled. The coordinated attack, IP floods, SMS throttles, stolen credentials, had almost succeeded in silencing Westbrook. But through ingenuity, solidarity, and sheer determination, he had reclaimed every vote. In the hush after the storm, he knew the fight for democracy was far from over. But for one crucial election day, his community's voice had rung out loud and clear. 6 months after the hack, Malik stood at a podium in the sunlit atrium of the newly inaugurated Westbrook Civic Tech Center, flanked by community leaders, civil rights attorneys, and state legislators. The banner above read, "From Suppression to Empowerment, Westbrook's Voting Renaissance." Behind him, a large screen displayed VoteReady's new dashboard, now a statewide platform, alive with green precinct markers, expanding beyond Westbrook into neighboring counties. "Today," Malik began, voice steady but charged with emotion, "we reclaim not just our ballots, but our agency in the democratic process." He recounted the brute force assault by election board insiders, how IP whitelists were weaponized, SMS gateways throttled, and malicious scripts injected to erase black voters' check-ins. He paused as the audience murmured, then clicked to slide to the expose headline, "Hack the Vote. Officials Indicted for Election Fraud." The gallery of indictments, 5 election clerks and 1 telecom executive, loomed on the screen, a testament to accountability. With a sweep of his hand, the slide shifted to the new statewide VoteReady interface. "In the wake of our victory," Malik continued, "the legislature passed the Secure Voting Rights Act, mandating open-source, auditable voter tools for every jurisdiction. VoteReady now operates under a nonprofit trust co-chaired by local community representatives, cybersecurity experts, and bipartisan oversight. We've implemented hardened, distributed servers, multi-factor authentication, and real-time anomaly detection to ensure no community can ever be silenced again." As he concluded, the crowd rose in a standing ovation. Mrs. Jenkins, the 78-year-old who first tested the beta in Malik's living room, stepped forward to present him with a framed proclamation for unwavering courage in defense of democracy. Tears welled in Malik's eyes as he accepted it on her behalf. Outside, media crews captured the moment. Westbrook's voters, young and old, black and white, cheering together beneath clear blue skies. That evening, at a block party celebration under string lights, Malik watched children chase balloons printed with VoteReady's logo. Neighbors shared stories of their first smooth, secure voting experiences. High school volunteers demonstrated the app's new accessibility features for alumni returning home to vote. As music and laughter filled the air, Malik reflected on the journey, from a frustrated brainstorm in a cramped apartment to a landmark reform that would safeguard voting rights across the state. In Westbrook, democracy had not only been defended, it had been reborn.